I'd like to call this meeting to order on October 9th, 2024, 6:32 p.m. Present with us from the committee members are Councilor Jenny Rivera, Councilor Linda Vacant, and Councilor David Bartley. Present with us in council chambers is Councilor Michael Sullivan, Councilor Kevin Jourdain, and Councilor Carmen Ocasio. Online with us, we have Disabilities Commissioner Lynn Horan and HR Director Kelly Curran, I believe, which is Kelly's iPhone. That's a cool name. We also have Tim Rivers from the Health Board of Health Department, or Health Department, Public Health Department, however we phrase it. I'd like to entertain a motion to take up item 1.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 1 of the minutes for September 25th, 2024 meeting.
Receive.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to take number 2 off the table, sir.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 2 is filed by Councilor Jourdain. Order that the City of Holyoke develop a personnel policy for the handling of administrative leave and codifying the rules into ordinance as recommended by the Personnel Department, including but not limited to when employees should or should not be placed. Let me get back a little bit. On pay.
Chairman?
Huh?
I'm wondering if we could suspend rules and take up item 10 with item 2, because they kind of go together.
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Item 2, as I was finishing up, and thank you for that, Councilor Vacant.
Abbreviated reading.
Abbreviated reading, even better. The
Please.
current process appears lacking objective standards. Taxpayers should be protected to ensure people who should not be out and be administrative are paid and unpaid administrative leave. The other one is item 10. Oh, wow. Order that the city's ethics ordinance 269 be amended as follows, and A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. I think Councilor Jourdain could probably summarize that
Yes.
if possible.
Sure.
Thank you.
Abbreviated.
You want me to do that right now?
If possible.
Okay.
I'm okay.
It's about creating a compliance hotline.
There we go.
One sentence.
There you go.
There you
Thank
go.
That's it.
Daddy beat that.
So you can start off if you
Okay,
want, because
thank
both
you.
of the items were filed by you. However you want to start the dialogue.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I did want to just follow up the law department. I had met with the personnel and law department. They had put together a draft that came to you at the last meeting, and I have just tweaked that a little bit. You should have that. Jeff circulated it earlier today about that, and it should kind of look like this one pager right here. Hopefully, you should have that in your packet. I just like to kind of go through this, and again, you don't have to pass this tonight, but if you could, just take the, hopefully feel comfortable with it, and I'll walk through the nuanced little differences. It says, to the extent permitted by Massachusetts general laws, any officer or employee who is under indictment for misconduct in such office or employment, or for misconduct in any elective or appointive public office, trust, or employment at any time held by him or her, may be suspended without compensation or benefits pursuant to the provisions and procedures pursuant to Mass General Law 268A, Section 15. No person suspended under this section or Massachusetts General Law Chapters 268A, Section 25 shall be suspended with compensation or benefits. This section shall apply to all officers and employees of the City of Holyoke, including but not limited to all appointments to any boards or commissions, the school department, the police department, and the fire department. This section shall apply to all positions covered by collective bargaining agreements unless the language is expressly in conflict with the terms of the collective bargaining agreement and the terms of the collective bargaining agreement are not preempted pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 150E, Section 7D. So 90% of this says the same thing as the first draft that the law department came up with. For example, word for word, when you go, it says, this section shall apply to all officers, employees of the city of Hoyoke. That whole sentence, all the way to the end, I made no changes. So that's word for word what you have in your first version. In the other stuff, in my opinion, is just housekeeping. I took the language from the statute and just took it word for word there. So instead of saying indicted by any grand jury of any state of Massachusetts, of any state of the United States, I used the language that they put exactly in the statute. It just says under indictment for misconduct, et cetera, et cetera. So I just wanted to make it as pure to the statute as possible. And the only other change I made is it says, no person suspended under this section shall be suspended with compensation or benefits. It says that in the statute, but I wanted to just put that sentence in there for no lack of confusion. So perfect clarity that basically how this works is the appointing authority, if this were to happen, has the discretion whether or not to suspend. But if a person is suspended, it has to be without compensation. And then, of course, the statute says if the person ultimately the charges are dropped or is found not guilty, then they have the ability to get all the money back, and we give them the money, which is fine. You know, we should do that. So that is basically the city, really for emphasis, because it doesn't appear necessarily like we may have always been following this. The only thing I'll say is I'm also compromising on the whole point about indictment. That's obviously one of the ways to be charged with a crime. I personally think it should be anybody charged with misconduct in office, whether it's the district attorney or state attorney general or an indictment from a grand jury. You know, there are different ways, but nevertheless, I just said, I'll let that go and just leave it exactly as the statute says, so that here we're crystal clear as to what we're doing in Holyoke. So I think you could, in my opinion, recommend this for approval, have the law department review the couple edits that I made, and if everybody's in agreement, either bring it back to ordinance for the next meeting or move forward. Your choice.
Thank you. Councilor Vacant.
Thanks. I just have a quick question clarifying around indictment. So is the only time somebody is indicted by a grand jury? Because the words indictment and charged were being used interchangeably.
Yeah.
So I ended up a little confused about if the district attorney charges somebody, does this apply or does it not apply? Are they considered indicted or not? I don't know.
I don't know if,
I think, well, you want me to answer?
Councilor Bartley.
Yeah, there are other entities that can indict, doesn't necessarily have to be a grand jury.
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
And the other thing is, I didn't want to get into, you know, there could be other ways. The statute does not use the words by grand jury.
Okay.
So I didn't think
Just to leave
I
it.
don't think we should either.
Okay.
So I don't want to expand or limit what the state statute says.
Okay.
And they don't say in the state statute, you know, in any state, it just, I guess theoretically you could be in Utah with some fraud case. I don't know. Theoretically, as opposed to, it doesn't mean it has to be charged in Massachusetts.
Okay.
But if it's for these things related to the public trust, then yeah, you would be suspended without pay, assuming the appointing authority agrees to that, right? They have that discretion in the statute. They don't have to, but if they do, it has to be unpaid. That's the bigger point. What I'm getting a little concerned about is it's may or may not be suspended and may or may not be with or without pay. And that's the part that we need to be uniformly doing what we should be doing.
Thank you.
Councilor Bartley.
Yeah, thank you, sir. How you doing? I hope everybody's good tonight. We're praying for the people in West Florida. So, I put a fair amount of time into this. So I'm just going to rattle off a few thoughts. Overall, this is okay. I think this draft needs a fair amount of work on it, so I'm going to suggest a few things. Kevin pointed out one of them. So it should, I don't know why you have to confuse things. Indicted by, just under indictment in any state or federal jurisdiction, I mean, just leave it at that. I mean, that's pretty darn clear. I think you have to, I think it'd be really important to come up with a procedure within this ordinance as to how that works. I have my thoughts on the procedure. I think also we need to specify that the decision by the appointing authority, and I think the appointing authority needs to be defined, so we need a definition section. Usually the appointing authority is the mayor, but you'll read other things. The opinion that Ms. Mantelewski sent today, elected officials, they're not appointed by the mayor. So there's got to be another procedure for elected officials. And so for city councilors, there's got to be a process for that. So that's going to be another definition. I think that any decision it says it shall be in writing. I don't want something that you're suspended. What? No, it shall be in a writing. I think that it also says it shall be subject to public inspection pursuant to Chapter 66, Section 10. And it shall, so this is a public document. I think that needs to be very, very clear. I think also the part with that has to be spelled out, and it's in the law. Said during the time of suspension, the city may fill the employee's position with a temporary employee. I think that should be in the ordinance. If we're gonna do this, if we're gonna spell out the ordinance, I mean, the appointing authority has a right to fill in a temp. So, and it's specifically a temporary employee. As I said at the last meeting, you can suspend the pay and the benefits, but the dumbest thing to do would just be to stop it. The smarter thing to do would be to escrow it. And if we're going to escrow it, I think it should be an interest-bearing account, because fortunately in this country, just because you're indicted, as the defense attorneys are fond to say, anybody you can indict a ham sandwich. Okay, so there's such a thing as overzealous prosecutors. I hope we're all aware of that. And overzealous public. I hope we're all aware of that too. So if we're going to do this, I'm not going to vote for it unless it's specifically held in escrow, because if the person comes back, well, okay, here's the money and here's the interest that you were going to get. Okay, as opposed to, well, we got to go find another account. No. That's, we want to, this is punitive, and that's fine, but we're not going to be idiotic and just say, okay, well, they're suspended and they're never coming back. Well, no. Prosecutorial track record is not 100% perfect. They make a lot of mistakes. I can assure you of that. I think those are some of the, without being over monopolizing here, I think those are some of the important things that, unless I see a procedure, unless I see it's mandated in writing, unless I see subject to Chapter 66, which we, that's public information that is submitted to the clerk. That's also in the law, that whoever the appointing authority is has to submit it to the city clerk. Well, we're going to say submit a writing to the city clerk, subject to Chapter 66, Section 10. So those are just some of the things I'd really want to have the law department work on. I mean, I have them written down here. I have no problem forwarding some of this to the law department if the committee's on it. But I'm pretty firm in my opinion on what I just said. Thanks a lot.
Hello. Okay. Thank you, Councilor Bartley. Any other questions? I saw Kelly had her hand up before I recognized Councilor Jordan. Kelly?
Yeah, I just wanted to flag, thanks, Councilor Bartley. I believe in Dean's update, it says case law shows that elected officials are not have to fall under that law. So I just wanted to flag that before more language was changed. Not sure if you guys saw that on there.
What legal opinion are we referring to from today?
We got 3 or 4, Kev.
There was a new one that came out today, different than the original one she did?
I think Jane sent some updated language.
I'm sorry, Kat.
Forwarded an email to me. Hold on one second.
Because I have the
Counselor Bartley.
legal opinion that was done originally.
In the meeting,
So, October 9th at 1:11, so this was this afternoon. Jeffrey's on it and Mike Bissonette, maybe it was too late to be, submitted, I'm not sure.
Well, October 9th is today, so can we make sure this gets, I'm the author of this proposal, so if people are seeing legal opinions or there's changes from something, if people could share a copy, I'd like to know what's going on. I'd appreciate that. Can you forward that to me, please, or?
Yeah, I'll forward it, and I'll read what was added, so the only thing that's, changed from the original one, was that on the second sentence, it says, while an office or employee may be suspended by the officer or employee's appointing authority without compensation. And then at the end of that paragraph, this provision shall not apply to elected officers or elected employees unless specifically applicable to said elected officer or elected employee pursuant to the Massachusetts general laws. And that's from some case law that she had, found.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. All right. I'll, and did she
forward it.
share the case or that she's citing?
Yes, the case.
Oh, good.
is-
Okay.
Yeah, I'll forward
Okay.
that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
thank you, Kelly. Anybody else had any other things said before I recognize you? Real quick?
Kev has hand up.
I know he does. I know. So for me, right, real quick, before I recognize you, Councilor Jordan,
sure.
the only reservations I think for me is some of those around that Councilor Bartley already brought up around if we're withholding their funds pretty much for the sake, and they get found innocent. I don't think it's enough just to give them what they were to be paid, right? There's some more pain and suffering that goes through that process, trying to figure out how to pay, because a court case doesn't, some of them are 6 to 8 months, but most of them will be about 1.5 to 2 years. They drag out. So to have no income throughout that process and then be found innocent, and if we temporarily replace them, where would the funding come from, I guess, is where we would get the money to pay them. And then the other piece is if we do have the money, it should be in escrow or somewhere where we're giving them back an interest, because they kind of went through a whole process where they get found innocent, right? Because you technically get found innocent or whatever it is, and then you lost your job, you lost everything, right? I don't disagree with the.
You want to use this one?
Did we lose the whole system?
Cable? Okay, it's probably one of the cables down there.
Oh, yeah? I don't.
Because if that
Is
one
this
and this
one
one, yeah. So I guess what I no, it's on. Yeah. So I guess what I was saying is that like if we're gonna do this, let's make sure that like there's a way where we're trying to be holistic, I guess, about it. The best word I could use. And then yeah, that's the main point for me. Councilor Jordan, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think you both make great points. Everything you've said, I have no objection to any of those points and making any of those edits, so happy to support. In fact, the statute's very clear that if the person is, ultimately the charges are dropped or they're found not guilty or any of it, they're supposed to get the money back. So it doesn't provide for interest, doesn't do that, but it does say they're to be paid the money. I don't know. I mean, if there's a legal mechanism to do that, to pay interest, what interest should you get? I don't know. If it was at 1% and it would have been in somebody's checking account. I suppose you could come up with a lot of scenarios, right, where the person obviously didn't work for that whole period of time too. So that's, they are getting a year and a half of pay and they didn't have to work. So there is some plus there too. Just remember why we're doing this. The reason we're doing this is to also have the other scenario not happen to us, which is that the person is paid this whole time and then at the end is found guilty. Are we going to sue them and say, give us the money back? You can't, right? It's like the money's gone. So in that situation, it's like, where do the taxpayers go to get their money, right? Now you had a person who has been convicted who you didn't suspend, and this is why they created this law in the first place, so taxpayers don't get left holding the bag. And they also want to make sure that if the person is being suspended, that the reason they're being suspended is because they're in a position of trust that because the charges are so serious, that they don't want either, it'd be the classic example. Somebody gets caught stealing out of their office. Well, meanwhile, this person, you can't leave them in there, right? Because what if they rob us, keep robbing us blind, right? So you kind of have to put them aside, but you have this presumption of innocence too at the same time. So you're balancing all these things. I think your suggestion of either escrowing the money makes a lot of sense. I think that's a good one. Interest, I don't know if we can legally do that and what interest we would give, I don't know. But I definitely think the suggestion around escrowing the money is a good thing. And then if they are ultimately convicted and they don't get the other thing you have to consider here is, what about a situation where they resign? I don't know if the law department wants to get into this, but what if they resign? Sometimes people will say, okay, you drop the charges or we come to some sort of settlement here, I'll resign from the position, blah, blah, blah. Is there an opportunity, if you want to get into that kind of nuance where, all right, I forfeit the money, I forfeit the job, but okay, we'll drop the charges type of thing. I don't know if we want to get that nuanced into it. The law doesn't really contemplate that scenario, but I'm just putting that out there. Bottom line is we just want taxpayers protected. We want these positions protected, but we also want to protect people's procedural due rights. So, again, we've been this many years without this law. We don't have to rush into it. It's not like we got to pass this tonight or anything, but I'm glad, I appreciate the committee moving us in the direction of addressing this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Bartley, and then Councilor Ray.
Yeah, let me just address those very briefly. First, let me step back. And the phrase grand jury is not even in here, so that shouldn't even be part of this conversation. It just says indicted, okay? So that should be just stricken. I don't even know how it got in there. In terms of the interest stuff, I'm going to explain the reason in a second why I want that. But let me just simply say, it can just be stated in an interest-bearing account. Okay, that's really simple. That's super duper simple. And the reason for it is not so simple. The reason for it is, I'm going to take the opposite view of what Kevin just said. It's very serious that a person's been charged, but it's also very serious when the appointing authority is going to take this step and invoke this section. So we, the city of Holyoke, are not idiotic like the Commonwealth, like they wrote this. We're gonna hold it in escrow. We're gonna put it in an interest-bearing account. So then, if the party is quaffed or found not guilty, and they want to come back, then here you go. Here's your check plus interest, and it all ties out from the escrow. And there you go. Start, and then all your retirement stuff, and then all your vacation, and all your sick time. That all comes back. Mm-hmm. So the city's going to account for all this, and then if the person's departed, okay, then it goes back to the general fund. If the person returns to service, then the money's right there, ready to roll. So that's why that thought was provided. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Bartley. Councilor Vacant.
Thank you. So I'm in favor of the amendments for two reasons. One, I think we need this ordinance because so far we've been having people out with pay and the city has been harmed financially and the taxpayers. But to take Councilor Bartley's point, everybody charged is not necessarily guilty, so we need to know that we can make them whole. And it seems to me to be a pretty simple thing to put the money in an interest-bearing account, and it'll be whatever it is. You know, it varies from time to time. So that way, I think we would be setting up an ordinance that discourages people from thinking they can do things and get away with getting paid and then be able to slip out the door. But on the other hand, we don't want to go so far the other way that you get an overbearing charge that's for, I don't know, a hostile reason, let's say that, for lack of a better word. It's to try to strike a balance. And so that's where I come down on it. Thank you.
Thank you. So I am hearing like we're entertaining possibly a motion to table, unless there's more discussion.
Well,
Yes or no? Go ahead, Councilor Bartley.
no, I'm with you on that, but I just want to we'll just make a motion to send all these thoughts and ideas up to legal department and have them come back with another draft and, whatever you say, okay? So when, you tell them when you want, do this in a month or whatever it is. So that's up to you. So that's my first motion, is that we send this along to legal for revision and have it come back whenever you say it's going to come back. And then the second motion would be to table, so.
Right, if we all agree on these amendments, which seemed logical to me, but
So the amendments I proposed and then the amendments you both are proposing?
that's the way I,
So I'll make a motion that we put in the draft language the amendments I'm not saying we're supporting them, we're just putting the draft language, the amendments I proposed.
and Kevin Jordan.
And we put in the draft language the amendments that Kevin and Dave proposed. And we get a new version in,
Back to ordinance.
back to us whenever the chair,
About
I'll
30
second.
days.
they're okay, 30 days.
I'll second that.
Okay,
And if they need more time, let me know, and then we can talk about that.
yeah.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion to table.
So that was 3 and 10, or just
We never
10?
got to 10, so if we
That
could
was
start
3.
talking about 10 a
Okay.
little bit.
Oh, that was
Well,
3 anyhow. Let's-
Yeah, I was just
We
thinking.
can table 3, though.
Okay. No, I mean 2. That was 2. That's
Or
what I-
2.
Yeah. So then,
I'll second the motion at table 2.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right. So then 10.
Yes, sir. So, Mr. Chairman, so number 10, again, is coming in for the first time with you. And this one, I begin to give the outline in this order for an ordinance, an amendment to 2-69, which is our ethics ordinance. So first thing I should say is, the good news is, we've already got the program.
Yes.
So we're off to the races. NavX is here. Kelly was very helpful. The mayor was very helpful, and we got it funded. It's going to be about $4,000 a year. It's a $1,000 startup. I don't know I know Kelly was thinking maybe the gentleman from NavX could make it tonight. I don't know if he was able to.
Oh, he was unable to join
Okay.
us tonight. Yeah. it was
No
short
problem.
notice.
Yeah, no problem. So, go ahead, Kelly. Did you want to say something? I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, if anyone missed his presentation, they could go back and watch the finance meeting where he described the program in depth.
And the name again is Navix, you said, right?
NAVEX, yes. And we can have through Jeff, I would encourage Jeff to circulate to the council the packet that went to finance on NavX Global. And yeah, and also there was that the video from our meeting at finance where we approved this. That was a good meeting. And the council, at our last full council meeting, approved the funding. So this ordinance proposed is basically to give the operating language to the program, which is to say, 1, we're going to have a program. 2, that we wanted to spread awareness about the program. 3, that we want to preserve confidentiality and protection from retaliation from people who participate. 4, that We want to put the personnel director and the city auditor, I would encourage to be in charge of the program, and give them sort of the wide latitude to manage the program in a way that, we're empowering them to oversee it. And then we'd ask for reporting. I'm hoping that there'll be reports annually, and NAVEX said they could do this. That gives us not names, but sort of statistically analysis, maybe this many for this department, this many of this kind. You had 88 calls in 2024, and 72 were screened out as no probable cause or whatever, however, they're going to do that. And then there were 16 that needed further review, 3 led to discipline, 2 led to just further education of the employee or something like that, so that we just kind of know, one, how much traction we're getting on the program, how much it's being utilized, and just get awareness out there. The whole concept here is see something, say something, and making employees feel like they're empowered to feel comfortable that they're not putting their own personal name on the line in reporting things. Citizens having a capacity to report things that they see.
Is this the task?
That's the program now.
So we all have it? We
Oh,
got
it's
it
in
at
your
the ci-
packets?
We got it at the city council meeting when we passed the money.
Okay, beautiful. So I would refer you back to that. So that's the spirit of this. I would encourage the committee to refer the order to the law department to begin to draft into a legal form, and open to any legal suggestions that the law department has, personnel, and this way the program has teeth in that it's actually supported in an ordinance. It's not just this thing we're doing on the side. It actually says we're going to have a program and personnel's in charge, and this is what we're doing, and then it becomes part of our operating policies. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Bartley.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we refer this to the law department, put it in legal form, and return it to us when the chair wants to take it up again.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
I'll just motion to table it for now.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Ordinance Committee.
Thank you.
What do you want to take up now, Councilor? 3?
No, well, no, my apologies to Councilor Sullivan. I want to take up the handicap one first,
Oh,
just because we have Lynn online and we want.
motion to suspend our rules and take out of order number 7, please.
Do I hear a second?
Second, and then go to 4.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item 7 was filed. Have a good night, Council. Item 7 was filed by Councilor Bartley and Councilor Ocasio. The city determined a more efficient manner to remove handicap disability signs. Perhaps a database should be maintained by the clerk. City addresses with handicap disability signs in front of parcels. Address should be maintained and made public further. For example, and on annual basis, each addressee with such a sign should be notified and must affirm whether or not the sign should remain. With us, we have Disabilities Commission member Lynn Haran, too, as well. She sent an email, too, as well, to, I believe, some of us with regards to some of the, not concerns, but some of the comments from the Disabilities Commission. So I would entertain the motion to allow Lynn.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to allow the Disabilities Commission to address this for no more than 5 minutes.
Second.
I don't know if we got time, but if we can do that as brief as we can, I appreciate it. But all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Lynn?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, great. Thanks for giving me that opportunity, I guess. And good evening, all counselors. Yes, I'm Lynn Horan. I'm currently vice chair for the Commission on Disabilities and also a wheelchair user myself. Mostly what I came here for was to say concerning item 7, that we did at the commission not hear about the meetings taking place and having a need to update the process by which we remove handicapped parking space signs. And we first found out about it because one of our commission members actually was watching an ordinance committee meeting in the beginning of September and first heard about it. So at our end of September meeting, she brought that up to the commission, which is a public meeting. And we were only concerned in, well, maybe let me preface it first with saying we think it's a great idea to update it. It's really important. People pass away that have those tags. Sometimes they're, it's a more temporary situation for whatever reason. They move, all sorts of reasons. And because we also understand, especially in densely populated areas of the city, where parking is a rare commodity and often only on street, that it's real important to keep updated on those things. So we absolutely, among the commission members, we were all in agreement at that former meeting that this is necessary to do. Our only concern is that it is, while it is a task for the City Council's Ordinance Committee to do, it is also still a part of what the commission does. We are appointed by the mayor to serve disabled residents. And as I was quoting to Izzy when I wrote him, there's an old South apartheid saying that during their own disability rights movement during that period of time, that goes, nothing for or about us without us. Real simple, but really straightforward in any marginalized group, and we are the largest global marginalized group there are in the world, in this country, and actually Hampden County has the most disabled residents of any county in our state. So we know what we need and what we feel, and that's the whole idea of having a commission. So all I wanted to say is clear communication would be great. We would love to participate in helping you write this in a way that benefits everybody. And I think we can help actually expedite that and get it done, and so that everybody has a win-win situation. And we will be meeting at our next meeting for the Commission on Disabilities at the end of October. And we had planned, after coming and seeing how things were going and myself speaking, and Kelly may want to say something, I'm not sure. She is also, among her many, many hats, our ADA officer, as you all know. So that's all I wanted to really say is please include us. We'd be glad to help, and let's get it done.
So, Lynn, thank you. Really appreciate that. And clearly, I just want to state, like, I don't think that for us it was that we wanted to try to overstep in any way possible. I think it was something that came up that Carmen was working on, where she was impacted in the community, that she had residents reaching out to her with regards to the parking spaces and the lack of availability in South Holyoke, and people that no longer live there, or the process. And when she started asking questions, there was no actual system in place. Mm-hmm. So this came out of the idea of, let's work together and try to figure out a system. I think in the past, I think I filed an order, and other counselors have spoken to other, I think this was before your time on the Disabilities Commission, but for us it was more of, we weren't trying to burden people with more of a task of limited capacities. Now, if you guys want to be brought into the situation, to this conversation, you guys are very welcome to. I just want you guys to know that this wasn't nothing like we're not trying to include you. Just so
I
you know.
absolutely believe that is true, and I've actually sat in on some of the city council meetings, and I saw Carmen, and I know Carmen, and I know how active she is in her community long before she was a counselor. That she was bringing up some of those tags and the kind of issues. So I really, absolutely, it's just, again, just kind of like as a little educational point for folks who are disabled. That
Thank
it
you,
is
Lynn.
a very typical thing, that, you know, it's not intended, but what I'm trying to do in my part
Right.
is also let you know, we are here and
Thank you.
we're
Really
capable
appreciate
of
that.
helping. And so enough said on that, Izzy. We're glad you're doing it.
Thank you. And Counselor
Well,
Bacon?
yeah, I'll be brief. I just wanted to be sure that everybody's aware that the order was copied over to the commission, and I'm hoping that this draft language was sent over. And
Yes,
any input we will consider at our next meeting.
Right.
And just by way of historic context, when we had sent matters over to the Disabilities Commission in the past about removing handicap placards, the feedback that we got was that the commission did not deal with that aspect of it, just the front end part of it. But we're certainly happy to get good input for creating ordinances, so we try to cover all the bases. So thank you.
Yep, absolutely, and I understand that. I've only been on there a year and a half, and changes are happening, no doubt.
Thank you.
For sure.
We're here.
Counselor Bartley?
No, I'm just, Linda said it all. I think at this point, what I'd like to do is just sort of keep this on the table for now, Mr. Chair. I'm going to compare the draft language to some of the thoughts I had, and then I'll be prepared. If you want to put this on a future agenda, you just let me know when you want to put it on in the next month or two, and then we'll
do that.
come back with some more thoughts, okay?
We'll do that. And then, Kelly, is your hand up for this, or was there something else?
I think Lynn said it after I raised my hand, but we didn't think anyone was overstepping. We appreciate this order because we do think there should be some way of tracking it. It's very hard when people like email, I think someone doesn't live there anymore, or they passed away, or they don't need it. And so, we have to search through the ordinance or make a order to have it removed. So I think having some kind of tracking mechanism is awesome. And we do have almost a whole new Commission on Disabilities, so there are a lot of changes, and we welcome you all to join us at one of our meetings just to see, the new members and discuss any issues that your constituents are bringing up to you that maybe we can help tackle.
Thank you. So the motion?
It's a table, sir.
Do I hear?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And
Thank you.
Motion to take number 4 off the table, please.
Wait,
Second.
Lynn, real quick before we go. You raise your hand?
Yes. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, just quickly to say, and, I feel, for instance, for the counselors that are dealing with these kind of issues right away, we meet at the end of October, but then again, and then once in December, and then not for a couple months. We don't meet as regularly as some of the commissions, and I know there may be a wish to expedite this, so.
I'll make sure
I
to take.
also don't
Yeah, I'll make sure to take it up in November after you guys meet, so that way I can hear from you guys what you guys said, and then what we do in November, if it continues to table, we can check in with you guys in December, just so you know.
Great.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Motion to take up item 4.
Motion to take up item 4, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Item 4 was filed by
Counselor Sullivan?
Counselor Sullivan. Order that the vacant building fee be adjusted to take into account the size of the building. Currently, a flat fee is assessed, which is not reflective of the burden to the city and its taxpayers. Councilor Sullivan, you have the floor since you've been doing all the legwork on this.
Yep, thank you. So the reason I filed this order is because the way it's structured right now, I'll give you an example. If there's someone that has a small 2,500 square foot building, for example, a small gas station or something like that, they're paying the same vacant building fee as someone that might have a large department store in a plaza or an abandoned paper mill of 100,000 square feet. So I didn't think this was, very fair that it would be the same regardless of the size of the building. Okay, so we reached out to various members of the city. We got responses from the OPED director. I think it's a good idea in general, but the question will be in the details. I wouldn't want to see the floor of the fine any lower. We had also from the building commissioner. I think it's a good idea as well. I think something like a tiered system would work, and I agree with Aaron, the floor should not be any lower. And then we had from the Board of Health, from Tim Rivers, a suggestion with a tiered program that I think is perfectly suited for this, in which the floor, which we have now, anything under 3,000 square feet would remain the same. Mm-hmm. And anything between 3,000 and 8,000 feet would move to a $6,000 fine. Anything between 8 and 14,000 feet would move to an $8,000 fine. And anything in excess of 14,000 square feet would be a $10,000 annual fine for a vacant building.
And I just wanted to add too, I did speak with the building department again, and I had sent over, I believe you guys got it, just like an update of another kind of tiered system where everything went up. There's no possible, like, once a building becomes vacant or it's bought by someone, like a 60-day rehabilitation plan to defer the fee. Because I was talking with the new building commissioner on her first day, but she knows Holyoke a little bit. So I just wanted to run down that because we're coming into vacant building season. And then a whole another like commercial style tier as well. So I know that Jeffrey originally didn't get it, but I think I resent it. So I don't know if you guys received that as well.
So,
If you sent it, I don't think we
It's
have
in your
it.
packet.
It's in the packet? Okay.
we have the new one, but I don't have one with the numbers that Counselor Sullivan just read.
Yeah, that was the original thought process
Okay.
that I was having, and I ran it by Kevin. And then also Kevin had a little bit different with a lot of, he said, I think it's a good idea to raise these fees. I would suggest, because I asked for his suggestion being building commissioner. He knows more about square footage than I would. He suggested residential property 1 to 3 units, tier 1, maybe going up $750, commercial residential, maybe a category for 4 to 8 units up to 10,000 square feet, tier 2 with fines being 0 for less than 1 year, 2,000 for 1 to 2 years, and 5,000 for 2 years plus. He also suggested a new tier of commercial residential, 9 or more units, or over 10,000 square feet as tier 3, with fines being 0 for less than 1 year, 1 to 2 years, 5,000, and 7,500 for 2 years plus. And that was Kevin's original suggestion off of mine. So we kind of all got some suggestions. I do like the one that I had sent you in the packet because it kind of demands that rehabilitation plan, because that's what we really want, is we want these buildings to have a plan in place to fix them up and get them to not be vacant. So just those are the different ideas I got from the building department.
Thank you. So any questions from counselors on the committee? Counselor Vacant?
So I just want to be sure with changing these fees, we haven't changed anything in the ordinance that gave people the window, say when a family member died and the house was tied up in escrow. We put language in to protect those people so they wouldn't be subject to the vacant building fee right off.
They have a year. Let me
Okay.
see. Yeah, they have a year in the original here, so maybe that's something thinking we can keep like that for the single families or the 1 to 3s.
I just want to be sure with whatever we do, we don't
Yes.
undo that. That's all.
Right. No, that makes sense. That is in the vacant building ordinance. It's a
Right.
subsection as an exception.
Okay.
So they do get 1 year, but I don't know if I put that in the original packet. So maybe that's something to add if you guys liked that one that I sent today.
Thank you. Thanks for bringing that up, Counselor Vacant. Counselor Bartley?
Yeah, so I see this order, and respectfully, what I'm seeing here, the vacant fee be adjusted to take into account the size. Okay, now, I've got no problem with that language. What I do have a problem with taking the size into consideration, everybody gets hammered. So 1 to 3 goes from 500 to 1,000, and then somebody's going up to 1,500 or 2,000 or 3,000, and then now 1,500. I heard 10,000. So now everybody's getting crushed. That's what we're doing to take this into account. Yeah, I don't think so. I'm not going to support it like this. These crushing blows. Because somebody's got a vacant building. Now there's got to have to be a reasonable. There's got to be a rational basis for this. Are other cities doing this? Are other towns doing this? And then before I make a vote on this, I'm going to strongly suggest that we understand how many residential properties are 1 to 3, how many are 4 and over. And by the way, it's 3 and over that are getting crushed right now by the building commissioner, and those outrageous fines that they're sending, intimidating fines that they're sending. So why is residential property should be 1 to 2 units, and then 3 and over seems to be the standard that the building commissioner is crushing property owners with. And by the way, they dropped the ball for 40 years. And Mr. Chair, I don't want to hear this nonsense. Oh, I wasn't here. Yeah, we know you weren't here. Everybody knows you weren't here. But you've been here for a long time, and you dropped the ball. You blew it, and now you're crushing City Holyoke owners. I mean, that's a shame. And now I'm going to rely on the building commissioner to go ahead and give me a fee schedule for this? No. Well, hold on a second.
Yep.
So there's going to have to be a little more data and analysis to this, as opposed to dropping a hand grenade on everybody.
I think these are just suggestions.
This
though.
to me does not work right now.
I think these are just numbers for suggestions to start.
Yeah, they're horrible suggestions.
But
And as a reminder too, they have a certain amount of time to put in a rehabilitation plan, so the building will be fixed up, so it's not blighted.
Well, I mean, these are made up numbers. I mean, so what are they based on? Do we just think of them, or are the other communities doing this? I mean, we just throw a dart at the wall. What do we do? We just make them up? Is that what we did, Tim? Or did you analyze somebody else?
I was informed by the building department.
Okay,
So
well-
I went to who would inform me on that.
Okay, this is the
So
same
that's
building
what I
department.
did.
This is the
Real
same
quick.
building department that's hammering everybody in the city. Well, I'm not going to take this sitting down. I mean, now they want to drop a hammer on everybody.
that's a different
Guys,
topic.
but it's the
Bartley.
same. It's the same
I
department.
don't
Mr. Chair.
disagree
The same department.
on the feelings, right? But that's a different topic right now. We're here, right? And honestly, I get where you're coming from with the numbers feeling like they're onerous, like they just came out of nowhere. But at the same time, we got to start somewhere. Maybe for the next time we can come and have some background as to where we got the formula for these numbers or for any numbers that we put forth. To my understanding, this is just a conversation to begin the process of doing this stuff and finding out what is a safe number or a safe space. It could be a hard hit for some people, and you might I don't disagree, but I think that if what we do in our job in policy or ticks in Holyoke right here. It looks like Councilor Sullivan is trying to remedy somewhat of a situation or create a balance. Now, the numbers we can change that throughout the process if it's not fair to everyone, in a sense.
I get that. I get all that.
Councilor Sullivan first, and then Councilor Vacant.
Yeah, sure.
And then Meg, I see you hand up now.
So the intent of this order had nothing to do with any residential
Right.
properties at all whatsoever. Okay?
Okay,
It's
perfect.
strictly what I was after here is the commercial properties. As we see throughout the city now, and use Kmart Plaza as a fine example, all right? Where they sit there for years and years and years, and the fee is $3,000. It means absolutely nothing to the owners of these large commercial properties. And that is the same fee as somebody that owns a gas station. That's what I'm seeking to remedy, to encourage these types of owners, many of which are not from Holyoke. They're from California, they're from Wellesley, Mass, they're from Newton, they're from New York, right? To do something with these properties and make it, incentivize them to either, if they're not gonna do it, to put them on the market and get them out there for someone that will.
Right. I think they use them for tax write-offs.
That's possible. Well, we'll give them some more money to write off.
Councilor Vacant?
Yeah, so I'm happy about the residential aspect because my understanding was all along that it was to get at the more commercial concerns and vacancies. Could you just let us know what the floor for the residential was or is?
That was 500.
Yeah, so I would feel better leaving that alone because honestly, I've seen a lot of reno work done on the houses throughout the city, and it seems like people are really taking that to heart, and I mean, there's such a demand. So I think on the residential side, we're in better shape than we were at the time that we created this. But on the commercial side, I think we're struggling more. So I commend Councilor Sullivan for filing this, and the idea that I think is captured here, we might have a debate about how far we should go with the charges, but it seems more fair to go by the size of the property than have a tiny property paying the same amount as a huge property. So that part seems fair to me. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Meg McGrath-Smith. Welcome.
Thank you. So I was looking through the ordinance and also looking at East Hampton, which recently put forward a storefront vacancy fine, as it were. It's a way of registering them as a vacant storefront. And when I looked at their comparable properties, they have a flat fee of $500, but the properties that are they're targeting specifically are much smaller properties than a lot of the properties that we are looking at here. And I appreciate wanting to have a differentiation between these large commercial properties and smaller properties. I think that that's spot on. And I think we're just, it's like figuring out what are the right numbers. But I also wanted to name, if our purpose is clear in why we're assessing these fines, the concept, from my understanding, is that we want to push them into action. We want them to sell the building, or we want them to come up with a plan to revitalize and use the building. It's supposed to be a stick. And my understanding also, and I want to hear if this is accurate or not, is that the goal is that the funding that's not a question. I want to know where the funding goes. When we collect it, where does that go? Or what is it used for? But also, if they then do the work, are we saying, great, and in lieu of us collecting that, we're going to wipe out those fines? Or are we letting them accrue again and again? Are we actually collecting them every year? And they're sitting in a fund? Are they being used in some way? I just have lots of questions.
Yeah.
Want to make sure that our purpose is clear and like why we're doing it.
In the vacant building revolving fund, all the fees are put into that. and then we can use them on private property and then lien that private property. So for example, we just boarded up, 198 Walnut. There was people breaking in and everything, and it was getting trashed. And we boarded that up with the vacant building fund. And then what we do is we lien it. And then the fees that aren't paid, we lien them around January as well. So they become liens, and then if they're liens, then we collect them on the back end, or we can roll them with Laura into the taxes.
Do we have a document anywhere where we can see how much is in the revolving fund? And also, how many properties have outstanding liens and how large are they?
Well, getting a full total on like their outstanding liens might be hard. I have last year, we liened 120,000, approximately 120,000. And we had, there were 86 liens roughly, that we put on for people that didn't, reply. So those would be liens where the people that paid actually would go into the revolving fund. And that's out of, I have approximately, I know I had a little bit more last year, but I had approximately, 160, vacant properties, I believe.
Okay. And most of those properties were commercial, residential?
They're all kind of mixed in, so I don't know. I can tell by the fines. I have the 3,000 here. We have a fair amount of. They might be mixed use though, as well. There's over the 4 units plus, and then mixed use, and then commercial all fall in the same tier right now. So the highest fee is 3,000 right now. So I wouldn't know which one was like all commercial or mixed use just by looking at my sheet.
Okay. All right. That's good to know. Thank you. And then to the committee, I think it's just, I hear what Councilor Bartley is saying around, not wanting to crush people. I'm totally understanding wanting to separate what we're talking about commercial versus residential. And I think if the goal is to bring these, folks to the table in terms of either selling or revitalizing the building, like what's that sweet spot where, yes, it's not to crush them, it's to move a property forward. But also, are we all on the same page for that? Is that really, do we all believe that is the purpose of these funds?
Ideally, thank you, Councilor McGrath-Smith. But ideally, I think the intent was that Councilor Sullivan could speak more on his intent if he would like, just real quick to break it down.
Well, once again, I'll say, the intent on this was not to go after any residential properties at all. It's strictly for the commercial fines out there. And in addition, the other thing that the committee and the city really needs to consider is it's not just about moving these properties forward. These properties also present a burden to our fire department, to our first responders, to the health and safety of all the citizens of Holyoke. This is where looting is going on. People are setting up encampments. It's really blight, a cancer in the city. And to let them go unaddressed like that does cost us, the taxpayers, a lot of money.
Thank you. So I am hearing...
My hand up.
Oh. Okay. You usually tap me on the shoulder, but I appreciate you letting me know that. Councilor Bartley.
Yeah. Well, I can tap my shoulder. You're a good guy. Yeah. All right. So first of all, just some clarification. Just because I raised my voice, it doesn't mean I'm yelling at anybody. If I ever yelled, you believe me, you realize. Second off, what I heard from Mike is more than what this order says. Now, this is a cryptic couple of sentences, but I'm hearing more about the duration of the properties being vacant as opposed to them being vacant about the, yes, there's a part about the size, but the examples are how long they've been vacant. So if you want to do something, if the building commissioner wants to do something about this, or wants to do something about protecting the department from having buildings, stopping vagrants and homeless people from seeking shelter in properties that they know are vacant for a long time. If they want to do something, then come back to us with a suggestion about properties that are vacant for between 1 and 5 years, 5 and 10 years, 10 and over years. And then you can have a sliding scale, and that's the way you get to a property owner. Last point, I don't care if a property owner is from Wellesley or from Chicopee or from Honolulu or from wherever. That is completely irrelevant. If they're investing in the city of Holyoke, I am all on board. Anybody who spent a nickel buying property is invested, no matter where they're from. So I don't care where they're from, and nor, well, whatever. If anybody else cares, that's their business, not mine. So I just hope that if we're going to do this, fine, take into account the size of the building, but also take into account the duration of the amount of time it's been kept vacant. I think that's going to have a better effect on getting to the point that you want to reach, as opposed to just throwing these fees that are, I'm virtually certain, Mr. Chair, they're just made up. There's no analysis.
Thank you. So, Councilor Reagan, no?
Well, I guess what I'd like to see us do is take into consideration, because I'd have to go back and look at the full language in the ordinance, because it's been a long time since I reviewed it in detail. But when we set it up, it was because of the long-standing vacant buildings. So I have to think somewhere in there is language about when we're declaring them vacant. But to Councilor Bartley's point, then there is now that we've had it in effect for a while, the ability to look at how many are still vacant since we established the ordinance. And so that, I think, would be a fair point, and those would be the people I think we would feel most comfortable with increasing the fees. From a practical point of view, if all we're doing is putting them against liens against buildings that are essentially abandoned, all we're doing is jacking up the tax that we'll be writing off when the building goes offline. So from a practical point of view, the ones we're putting liens against that aren't paying are not going to develop into a positive for the city. So I do think that analysis would be helpful, because we can jack the fees up to the moon, and if they're just walking away from the building, it doesn't matter. So I think that would be helpful to know. Yes.
Tim?
Just want to say too, like there's some buildings, like I believe the Walnut Street ones have been vacant for, I believe it's been about a year, and they have people breaking into them and doing drugs in them.
Yeah.
So sometimes the vacancy, sometimes it's the placement as well. So it's really important to remember that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I guess I would, through the chair to the maker, what would the maker like to see us do at this point? Consider some of these points, move the ball relative to the square footage, or what do you think?
What I would like to see is what my original intent of the order is, not to address anything to do with residential. If somebody else wants to file another order, that's fine by me. As far as Councilor Bartley's concern about out-of-town investors, right? I agree. I welcome any out-of-town investors, but when they leave a building vacant, they are not investing in the city, all right? And we have numerous of examples of that, right? And I think, once again, just to address these commercial ones where it already exists at a $3,000 base, right? Leave that base alone. And I think the 3,000 square feet, if we want to adjust that up to maybe 10,000 square feet, fine, right? But it's when you get into the huge buildings, whether they're in a plaza, whether they're a paper mill, or an abandoned factory, it's a whole different story, right? And they're sitting for years. And it's time to do something about that.
Thank you, Councilor Sullivan. Councilor Member Grass-Smith.
Thank you. I was just going back into the ordinance and, initially the goal, I can see why residence is coming up because it's tied in the same ordinance as the one that's related to what Councilor Sullivan has put forward here for his order. And the table that's here, clearly I can see that the intent is to ramp it up based on how long it's been vacant. So it says residential properties with 4 or more units or any other property, which would mean a commercial property or I'm guessing a mixed use property. $0 if it's properties that have been vacant for less than 1 year, 1,500 if it's been vacant for 1 to 2 years, and 3,000 if it has been vacant for 2 years or more. And so I can see that that's already been there. And it sounds like we may want to expand that beyond just that short time frame to really also target ones that have been vacant for longer. Yeah.
So I'm hearing, and I don't think this should solely fall on you, Tim. I think this should be a collaboration with the building department, as it has been somewhat as a here. That's as I'm listening to what you're saying, is that hopefully you can put forward some numbers around footage, right? Only buildings. Right, square footage, no residence, commercial spaces only. I think there's a definition with regards to Councilor Vacant.
Well, I just wanted to say the multi.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was going to get into that.
In.
Multi-res.
Just not the single resident.
Right. Well, I mean, I think it's 4 or more.
4 plus.
4 plus, yeah. That's exactly what I was going to try to
sorry.
say. Yeah, no worries. Incorporate them into that commercial piece, and then I guess start with maybe with the 3,000 as the flat base, because that's what we have now, and then maybe come up with a couple different systems as you increase in square footage and reasons as to why. You know what I mean? If potentially find some research on it, I don't know if you can. That would be great. Just so that way we could do this at 60 days probably. That way you have time to kind of bring it all together. That way we can have that in that next meeting we can hash it out and then get the language, if that's okay with other people.
And can I just make one
Councilor
brief
Vacant,
comment?
go ahead.
And so I guess what I would say on this is we need to do something, because it seems like we're a little bit stalled with what we tried to do with developing this ordinance. And so I think it's good to have the discussion and come up with a couple different approaches, but I don't think we should get too worried about having it perfect,
No, it doesn't have to be.
because we can always amend it again if some unintended consequences arise. But we sort of all know some of the worst and longest properties, right?
Right.
And if we can motivate them to either do something or sell it, or that's doing something instead of nothing. So I appreciate the intent of this order, and I think we should try to work it
You want to make the motion, Councilor Vacant?
fairly soon. So, well, I don't know what the will of the committee is. As the maker of the order, do you want us to look at the duration around the highest end, hearing the objection relative to the 3,000 going to 10,000? Like maybe we would tie to that the size of the property and that it's been vacant more than 5 years, say? You know what I mean, as an idea?
As an idea, fine. I'd like the committee to stay focused on what the intent of the order is.
Yeah.
Strictly commercial properties.
Right.
So the goal is going to stay on that intent. I think where we're trying to figure out, and maybe it doesn't matter to you, but and not in no disrespectful way, but like at the end of the day, it's like the goal for you is what the intent is. How we get there doesn't matter. But for what I think we're trying to get is a better understanding of like what are the parameters within that range, right? But I think it makes sense that they come to us with some parameters, and then we kind of hash that out.
Yeah, and I think maybe just a rationale for it. So Councilor Bartley has given us feedback that he finds the current numbers crushing toward business. And so I guess the idea would be that we want to motivate them to do something, but on the other hand, we don't want to crush them. So I think we want to feel comfortable that what we're doing will have a reasonableness to it. So I guess that's how I'm hearing it. I'm not trying to speak for anybody else, but.
No, if I can
Councilor
address it a little
Sullivan.
bit, I find nothing crushing about it. If they're, on some of these examples that I see out there, they're already paying $15,000-$20,000 in real estate tax every year. Just write
And
a
they
check,
are.
write it, just
They are
write a
paying
check,
it?
write a check, write a check.
Okay.
Right? Because that's not painful. That's not painful to them. All right? And it's not about inflicting pain. All right? Let's not also forget that there is a price to the city in economic development, job creation, and the burden upon our fire department, police department, and the general well-being of the citizens because of what else goes on in these properties.
True.
Right.
So,
So-
and
That's
one more-
all.
All right, thank you.
One more question.
Sure.
So in this brief fee schedule where it talks about deferred with a rehab plan, so these fees are subjected to the owner once a year? Is that how it works?
It's once a year, and they have to come to us. We're sending out the vacant building forms now, so obviously the fees are, this year. They have to go out by October 15th, then they have to respond by November 15th. Then we have a hearing. If they want to defer it, they have to have a rehab plan, and that is where the building department more steps in on the, obviously, they are more equipped to look at rehab plans
Yeah.
and make sure that they're following through with, or that they make sense. So if the rehab plan is approved, it gets deferred.
So
And they have to do
owners
that.
can cure this in a
Yes,
fairly
yeah.
reasonable way, within a fairly reasonable amount of time, if they so choose.
Yeah, as long as they're following up. If you buy a property, then you have a plan for it. And if you don't have a plan for it, that's where the fee comes in, because that's what we're trying to avoid.
Right. So for me, I'd like to see this thing move forward. We've had this tabled in committee for a number of, I think, weeks and Councilor Sullivan wanted to work this through and get feedback and input before we took it up. And so we have some feedback and some input. There's a few more questions out there.
I think the only concern for me is the fees.
Yeah.
So like what you're gonna change and what numbers. So like I want to put it forward too. I think the only thing is that we're not ready with numbers, and
Right.
having them together, the building department and the board of health, work on putting
Right.
some numbers together, for that way when they come to the next meeting, they've already heard Councilor
them.
Bartley's gripe, so we can
Yeah,
see where
and we
we're
can
gonna.
look at the time factor too. All right, so I would like to hopefully we take it up at the next meeting. Maybe, because it shouldn't be that complex. Or are we too, that's the traffic one, right?
Tim, how much time do you
So-
think?
So really what I'm gathering from this is that we're taking off the residential, we're leaving that all the same.
Yeah.
We're incorporating a better commercial space tier, we're adding that in, but we're gonna add the 4+ units into that commercial space. And then, hold on one second. And then we also want to consider duration in those fees. I got that right?
There was some question raised about
so-
3+, but I don't.
So with the durations and the fees is trying to, I guess, match if you have someone that's there for a year and they haven't rectified anything or fixed anything, is different than the person that hasn't fixed anything in 5 years.
Okay.
So like that changes the fee, right?
Yeah.
And then as
Okay.
well as your square footage would also change the fee too as well. It's just looking at that and
If you're
trying to
big and long, then you pay more.
pause. But yes, okay. Thank you. So that's the motion.
Yes,
Oh.
to table for
All in favor?
revised.
Aye.
The motion. See you in 30 days then, I guess. Thank you.
And I'd like to
Take up
thank the
number three?
committee.
Yes, number 3.
Motion to take 3 off the table, please.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Number 3 is filed by Councilor Murphy Ramboletti. Order that the city create the position of municipal hearings officer to hear appeals by offenders of the state building code made pursuant to MGL 148A, Section 2, and that a stipend be determined for said position. This was tabled September 25th. I believe this is from the city solicitor's office. Mike, are you available to speak on this one?
Sorry about that.
No
Good
worries.
evening.
You got the awesome background. It always looks like a fake one, but it's real.
Glad you like it.
So yeah, for item 3, this was an order filed by Councilor Murphy Ramboletti about creating a position for municipal hearings officer. I think last time it was Jane that was here that was able to speak on it. I believe there was some more research to be done. So yeah.
I think you have the draft of the ordinance, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. It's here. Give me a second. I got a lot of papers. There's way too many papers here. Okay, yes, we do. Has everyone been able to review the draft?
Yep.
I have.
Okay. You want to take a second?
Yeah.
Or-
Well, I don't really need a second
Yep.
because honestly, I'm not in favor of adding new positions to the city government right now.
Well,
Because
I respect
we're
that.
strapped financially. We have a big law department. And I just think, I'm not sure adding another step in the bureaucracy relative to these issues is going to make anything better for the residents.
The only concern I have, and I agree with you, I don't disagree. I think the place where I'm at, and I think the reasoning behind this is that a lot of the things we are trying to do, like the policies, and one of the ones that Councilor Sullivan just filed, eventually they go to court. And when they go to court, it sounds like we're going after a lot of people now. And not to say that we're going after, but like people are being held accountable a lot more than they were before. So
I'm
it's
not really sure about that, but maybe.
that's not necessarily what I just heard not too long ago. like,
Well, when we get the report, we'll know.
So ultimately, the idea is to be able to keep up with a lot of these issues that we're trying to solve, right, in the court. We might need to add another body. I think that in the beginning, financially, if you think about it, the cost will be on the taxpayer for now. But once we actually start tracking down and doing the due diligence, the fines that are being brought in and the fees that are being brought in with regard that are attached to the fines will kind of offset costs in the future. But you can't do that if you don't have the capacity to go after the money that technically you're fining people for. At least that's my intent.
I hear you, but maybe I've been on the city council too long, but I've heard this argument many times, and I've yet to see the money come in that covered the costs, i.e. the parking lots that we were assured would be paying for themselves, and for a decade, nothing happening. Just saying.
No, don't disagree. Don't disagree.
And so, at this point, call me cautious. And right now, our law department is as big as it has ever been. And so I'm not warm to adding more employees, but I have not thoroughly reviewed all the language in this ordinance.
Thank
So I
you.
will own that. Thank
No
you.
worries. Councilor Bartley?
Yeah, so this is similar to the prior order, Mr. Chair. So this is a solution seeking a problem. In other words, where is the backup to support the need for this? You just said on the microphone, well, all these cases, we're doing a whole lot of stuff, and all these cases are going to court, and all right, well, prove it. Show me something to the maker of the order or whoever wrote the order on her behalf. Show me where that's coming from. But let me point out my favorite part of this draft, or this draft one. I love this. The hubris is beautiful. The mayor shall appoint the hearing officer, comma, without confirmation by the city council. Boy, that's got to make the law department proud to write something like that. Just throw it in your face. You need city council's approval to pass this thing, but then when it comes to municipal hearing officer, no, right there. Isn't that beautiful? That must have made them feel good when they typed it out. So I'll tell you what, I have 0.00 interest in something. When I see language, it's so offensive when I see language like that. It's just slap in the face to the city council, an equal branch of the government. But you've got to spell it out. The mayor shall appoint. Okay, but no, they have to go without confirmation by the city council. That's beautiful. I tell you, the hubris is a fantastic thing. Well, you're delusional if you think you're going to get 5 votes. If you're going to overcome a 5 votes to stop this, you're delusional. And so I'm not Nostradamus, but I'm pretty confident that this will go down in flames as that's written. Next off, do you see any mention in this verbiage relative to the mandatory $2,500 stipend? That's the minimum. Now, I've been looking through here now. I'll happily stand corrected, but I don't even see in here anything about what's scheduled to getting paid from or what's. I mean, so in the law, the general law, Section 5 of the general law, it says mandatory $2,500 minimum. Okay, well, where's that in here? Okay, we see the shot about city council. I don't see that in the law, so they made sure they got that in, but they don't have the part about what's in state law. So I would just say, all joking aside, I would say come back to me with some kind of a argument that says, well, we're spending all this time in court, or really maybe we should hear from the code enforcement officers, because they're the ones that are supposedly burdened. We should hear from them that they have to go to court all this time, and they're wasting all this time on court proceedings as opposed to having a municipal hearing. Listen, I'm all for efficiency in government, but show me how it's inefficient at the moment. I need to see that. Come back with some language here that's a little more subtle. You don't want city council involved, fine, but just say the mayor's the hearing officer. Leave it at that. Okay, I don't need to have to be slapped in the face. And then come back with a little more inclusion of the entire law itself. And I think we'll have a better starting point. Thank you.
Councilor Jenny Rivera, I see Rivera in the paperwork. Any comments? No? Okay. I don't disagree with some of the points you made, Councilor Bartley. I wouldn't have said it that way, but I don't disagree.
It's a comedy, my friend.
I know. But there's also a part here where there's a game being played, right? We're all doing our due diligence and playing our roles, and it is. I see what you're referring to. Here. But I think in our role here is to do what you just did, make the edits, right, and make the suggestions as to what makes more sense. Well, I was going to recognize Solicitor Bissonette to try to elaborate to some of this, but before I do that, Councilor Meg McGrath-Smith.
I would like to see this move forward, and I think an easy fix is just to strike without and change it to with. So it says with confirmation by city council. Thank you.
Do I hear anything else from anyone else before I recognize the city solicitor? City Solicitor Bissonette, in case you would like to expand on any of the critiques.
No, I think he was heard.
Yep. Thank you. Counselor Vacant.
I'd like to make a motion to table to receive information that would show what kind of volume, the number of cases, and the dollars involved relative to the need for this position.
Would that get the vote for it to pass, or because I feel
Not
like
from me, but
well, so
way
then
from somebody else.
so that's the piece for me where it's like the intention of having a request. I mean, you can request whatever you would like, but like the intention of having that request and having someone do that much effort and that much work, it would only be fair that like you would actually give a chance
It's not
or
a quid
listen.
pro quo. This is a public
No,
meeting.
we're not talking about quid pro quo.
No.
I'm talking about actually, if someone's putting in time and effort and some work for something, it's not just because you want them to chase things down just because. That it doesn't work that way. It's not
Excuse me,
like it's
but
not
you're-
fair
You are
to the
putting it in an-
employees.
You're putting an intention.
I'm not putting
on
any
my
intention. I'm
words.
just asking a question. Like
No, you're making a
direct.
statement, but.
I asked you a question first, and then I made a statement after.
Mm.
But to the point, I'm okay with tabling it to get the information, but it's only fair that we're all listening to them with active listening ears. It's not fair to employees if they're going to do the work and put the time and the effort into it for them to come in here and for it to just go in one ear and out the other. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, and so what I will say is it is not fair to the taxpayers for us to sit here and be requested something by a department with no financial justification for spending the taxpayers' money, whether I'm in favor of adding the position or not. There is no data in front of us except somebody came to us
disagree.
and said it's taking too much time.
I don't disagree with that point.
And so that is my point. And whether in the end I vote for it or not for it, it is a matter of public interest that there be information brought forth to justify it and to support the statement that if we spend this, we will get this.
Right.
Thank you, and we don't have any of that.
So,
Thank
Mr. Chair,
you.
I'm going to second that motion, but when you have a chance to recognize me, I wanted to say under discussion.
It's not, you can't,
Well, you made a motion, I'm seconding it.
yeah, but my motion was to table.
Oh, but no, you made a motion to well, maybe I misheard. I'll go.
All right, well,
I'll
I'll
defer to the
change,
chair.
I'll change my motion
I'll defer to
to
the chair, sorry.
refer it for more information, but I had accompanied it with table. But
Well,
I can withdraw my motion.
Well, I was going to second the motion to refer for more information, but then I was going to say some of the discussion. If is that your motion or?
Okay.
Okay,
Have you guys decided?
fair point. I think I'm seconding her motion, but when you have a
To
chance
get
to
more
recognize me, I'll just
information.
make a quick.
So we're seconding her motion to get more information.
Yes.
All right, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And then under discussion then?
Me?
Yes, Councilor
Next,
Bartley.
30 seconds. So, yes, I'm all ears on it, and I hear your point, and I just want to see, because I don't mean to be flip to say that we're what I said earlier. I was a little flip, but it's just kind of a joke. I mean,
No, I got you.
So, but in all seriousness, if you want this position, and you can say this is how we're going to make the government more efficient, then yeah, but I just don't want to create the position, and because I see an order to that effect, just explain it to me what it is that what's costing the city now, and then you're going to come back and say, okay, we're going to pay this person $2,500 or what? Tell me what we're going to pay this person. What's the feeling on it? What's the suggestion? And then I'll hear it out.
I agree with that 100%.
That's all I want to say.
I agree with that 100%. Kelly, I see your hand up.
Yeah, so I don't know a lot about this position, but what I learned a little bit about is that it's specific building department, not the law department. And it sounds like it would be like a stipend for someone who doesn't want to work full-time, a retired person, or someone with the knowledge to do that work on a part-time basis. But again, I don't have all the information about it, but that's what I do know about it.
Thank you, Kelly. And to the point of not having enough information, and reason why I will be voting in favor of tabling or whatever, referring it for more information is because of that. Although there may be a need and the order has come up to us as a need or a concern, there really isn't much information for us to kind of talk about or even to kind of like hash out or better understand right now with regards to the position. With more information, there can be more discourse regarding the position, I guess. So,
I'll motion table
Well,
Councilor Bacon?
I was just going to say, to be fair, I mean, we just need to know things like how many hearings are there? How many court hearings are we going to each month? How much time is it taking? You know, that's the kind of basic information, not only, but those are sort of the first tier.
Perfect.
Right?
So we can include that in the motion or in the referring for
Well,
the
no,
information?
I'm just
Yeah,
putting it
that's all
out there
part of it.
that, you know, those are some of the basics, because we're gonna hire somebody for, a stipend of $2,500. So what kind of time, what kind of volume are we
We're looking at,
anticipating?
yeah.
So,
All right, so on the motion,
Motion to table or motion to which motion we
we
on?
already said yes to asking for more
Okay, then the
information,
motion
right?
table, sir.
Yep.
Yeah.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye. Which one do you want to take up now?
A motion take up item 5.
Oh, okay. I guess that's a second.
Do I hear a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Item 5 was filed by Councilor Vacant. Order that the ordinance requires sinks in certain establishments such as tattoo parlors, etc., be connected to city water, be modified to allow for potable sinks as an option. Councilor Vacant, feel free to elaborate more. We also have Tim here with us. Too,
So
from the Board
thank
of
you,
Health.
Tim, for being here. We had decided at our last meeting that we would seek some feedback from you. This originally came from me at the request of a shop owner or leaser at the mall who was in a situation of needing to be able to use a portable sink instead of a fixed sink. And it was an issue for that individual. So that was what caused me to file the order. And so I was going to give it leave to withdraw, but then we thought, well, maybe we should put it over to you to see if there was a reasonableness to this before we just disposed of it. So whatever feedback you could give us would be great.
Okay, so he already came, those are Board of Health regulations. Body art regulations are adopted by all local boards of health.
Yeah.
He did come before us on 5/15/24 at our meeting. He did talk about that and some other things. And Dr. Esteban was our chair at the time. I'm looking at the minutes here. He acknowledged the importance of having a hand washing facility, but recognized the practicality of portable sinks, especially in temporary or emergency situations. He noted that the board could consider these when reviewing potentially amending regulations. I did want to make sure our local regulations, which are on par with everybody else because the state put out model regs, and I just touched base with some other communities to make sure that our regulations weren't unreasonable. Amherst said they would never allow it. Northampton, the clerk, said probably not. Westfield said no. East Long Meadow said no, and she wants to make the regs a little more clearer. West Springfield was a hard no, and the building department may need to be involved as well, and South Hadley was also no. So I think it would be best. I also did an inspection at that establishment, and when I went to wash my hands, they ran out of water. And when I asked the employee where she would wash her hands, she pointed at the bathroom. So that means anything, the reason why they have one in the procedural area is you wash your hands just like food. You wash your hands in the bathroom, but then you re-wash your hands in either a food prep or procedural area. Mm-hmm. That way, when you touch the gloves, you don't contaminate all the gloves. So that is something, anytime there's a local regulation, anybody can come before the board. We had a person right before him come in, and we're also looking into amending some of the piercing regulations. So he came with some scientific data. This one more was just, this particular permit holder was just asking about the hand washing sink. And like I said, Dr. Esteban said in an emergency situation, that would be feasible. He also moved to his new location knowing he didn't, knowing this beforehand, because at his last location, I had him put in a hand washing sink because of the portable sink. And we kept him open, and we definitely gave him some time to correct that issue, because we were trying to work with him on that. It was in between different, we had 3 different directors at the time. We had Sean, Lynn was acting, and then I took over. So we definitely did try to work with him, but now he opened up another place, and we let him open with, and told him he needed a plan in place for that sink.
So, okay, so then it is required, the portable sinks are not a reasonable option from
Right.
the perspective of the Board of Health. And
Yep.
so we hear you. And so then what I would say is that we would accept, as the maker of the order, I would accept the recommendation from our Board of Health that we do not allow portable sinks as a permanent option for businesses that require a hand washing, what would that be, a site?
Yeah, hand washing
Would that be
sink
the way
or
to say
facility or, yeah, hand washing station.
Because they
anything
can't
like that.
use the bathroom because they need
Right.
to have a separate one from the bathroom.
Right.
So I would just say it the way I said it,
So-
minus the last part.
Do I hear a second?
Second. Second.
Do you have anything to add before I say all in favor, Tim, real quick?
Just that we're already have a meeting to amend our regulations. I gotta put an ad in the paper, so I can run that by the board and try to add that as soon as possible.
Awesome.
What would he be adding?
What we're talking about right now.
But.
We're
now I'm
looking into
confused.
amend, oh, I'm sorry, we were
Go.
looking, I thought you wanted it more clear about the hand washing sink.
No,
Meg,
no,
No.
No,
What she was
so, no.
so what she was saying is that she's gonna say she's gonna accept your recommendation of not
Oh,
allowing.
okay, oh,
So-
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm accepting your recommendation that a portable sink would not be allowed.
Right.
Okay, all right,
So you don't
Sorry
have to
about
do anything, I don't think, right?
all right.
Yeah, that's fine. So Bartley motioned it. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Can we take 8 and 9 as a package?
Oh, sure. I'll move to take, suspend the rules and take 8 and 9 as a package.
I hear a second.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 8 was filed by Councilor Murphy Ramboletti. Order that city examine and study Schedule A increases that were recommended by the salary study completed in 2014 so that we can implement salary adjustments that are competitive and more aligned with neighboring municipalities in order to attract and retain city employees. And number 9 was also filed by Councilor Murphy Ramboletti. Order that the Schedule B and C of Ordinance 235 be updated as appropriate with competitive salaries to attract and retain employees. I believe Kelly's here to kind of speak on some of this. Go ahead, Kelly.
All right, thank you. I don't have the study ready right now.
Right.
When I was out on bereavement, it was submitted, but it was with FY24 data. So I wanted to make sure that we had more up-to-date data, and I'm still waiting on some other municipalities to get me some of their data. So I anticipate having that done within the next 2 weeks and being able to present possibly the next ordinance meeting or the following one, but I'll let you know.
Okay, perfect. So to me that sounds like a tabled, but if anybody else has anything to
Items 8
say,
and 9 for the information.
Second?
all in favor?
There you go. Thank you, Jenny.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, all in favor? Oh, do we vote?
Yeah, I said all in favor. You
Oh,
said
said
yes.
I'm sorry. I'm like,
He was so efficient, you missed it.
No, he's efficient. Like I said, Mike, yes, he's efficient.
No, stop it. You stupid. You be playing them games, huh?
Well, you started to. What did he tell you?
So, to entertain a motion to take up 11 and 12 as a package.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect, thank you. Before I move on, I want to recognize
We have
Counselor.
to do the suspend the rules.
Oh, just keep going. Please keep going. Don't torture us.
Okay, just
man.
keep going.
You're right.
Let-
I'll do it moving forward.
All right.
I want to recognize Counselor Patty Devine, who's also online with us. And your hand was raised for that discussion. I'm sorry, I totally forgot. Because
I reminded him, Patty.
yeah, he did. Counselor Bartley reminded me. But go ahead. Go ahead.
Me. That's okay. The order's fine, to take the recommendation from the Board of Health.
Perfect. Thank
So
you.
no problem.
Perfect. Thank you. Item 11 and item 12 were filed by both Councilor Jenny Rivera. One was order that a handicap parking sign be installed for Daniel Canales of 95 Newton Street. And item 12 is order to request the installation of handicap parking spot in front of 56 Moser Street. The request was made that the resident, Mrs. Jusino, who resides there, has challenges, disability challenges with regards to getting access to parking near the residence. Let me see, I gotta get that. 11 and 12.
Did the commission,
Kelly, is your hand still up, or this is a new one?
Oh, no, sorry. I didn't lower
Thank
it.
you.
No,
Thank
I'm
you.
staying out of that one.
All right, perfect. I was gonna say your grasp is everywhere, huh?
Hey, she's on it.
Mr. Chair, just to note that the Disabilities Commission did approve both 11 and 12.
Both of them? Perfect.
my
I'm looking for it on the
because I didn't see
paperwork.
it. Yeah.
Then I'll make a
I just
motion.
haven't met with them in person for them to
Okay.
sign it.
Okay, perfect. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we support the commission's recommendations.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call for the purposes of online rules. Counselor Meg McGrath-Smith,
Aye.
Counselor Jenny Rivera,
Yes, do we
Yes,
say aye?
yes,
Oh,
yes.
okay, yes.
Counselor
Sorry.
Bacon,
Yes.
Counselor Bartley,
Yes, aye.
and I, Israel Rivera, yes. That's 11 and 12. Entertain a motion to take up item 13.
Motion to take up item 13.
Second.
All in favor? Item 13 was filed by Counselor Devine. Order that DPW put a handicap parking space in front of 420. I like that number. 420 Dwight Street.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
In the perfect area too. So, Patty, I was gonna elaborate, but Patty's here, so Patty, feel free to explain. And I don't want to steal your thunder. Go ahead, Patty.
We have no paperwork with it.
Oh,
Okay,
Patty's gonna elaborate.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I got a memo or an email from Carl at the DPW, and they are going to straighten it out because it was put in the wrong place. So he said he would take care of it as soon as possible. So I would say that the order's been complied with.
Perfect. Thank you. You just made our night easier.
Second.
Good.
All in favor?
Aye.
And for the purposes of online, Counselor Meg McGrath-Smith,
Yes.
Counselor Jenny Rivera,
Yes.
Counselor Vacant,
Yes.
and Counselor Bartley.
Yes, sir.
And Counselor Rivera is 0. Yes.
Motion to take number 14 from the table, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item 14 was filed by Counselor Givner with community support and in service of our museum goers, order to move handicap space from the corner of Beach and Cabot to abut the paved driveway of Wistariahurst. Counselor Givner is not online, but she said that we could table it, but I think that it makes sense to maybe move it forward and send this communication to Carl Rossi and the DPW, because it's a similar situation that Councilor Devine just mentioned. They put the handicap sign on the Cabot side instead of right in front of the Beach Street side, where there's an actual ramp for people to get in.
So this is to correct.
So it's to
location?
move it from the spot that it's currently at to a Beach Street location closer to the ramp.
Well, I'll
So-
make a motion that we forward this to DPW and then just leave it in committee just to make sure they do it.
Right,
Because they'll
perfect.
have to change the ordinance.
they'll have to-
Measurements and locations for it to be correct.
So then we
right?
can second that motion then. All right, perfect. So the motion is that we make a communication to DPW to see if they can rectify the situation. And then for us, we'll keep it in the committee to make sure that it actually happens. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then for the purposes of online, Councilor Meg McGrath-Smith,
Yes.
Councilor Jenny Rivera,
Yes.
Councilor Vacant,
Yes.
Councilor Bartley,
Yes.
and then Councilor Israel Rivera. Yes.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just a quick technical question. If they're moving spots in the ordinance, wouldn't this have to go to the full council for them to approve it?
That would.
Yes, and we have to get legal form with the new measurement, the new location.
Yeah, I'm working on getting measurements from DPW. They just haven't gotten them back to me yet.
So I think that could still happen and have that communication sent to them. We just won't take it up until we have all that information.
Oh, I'll make a motion to table it. Maybe we didn't do that.
Oh, okay, you're right. So then entertain a motion to table it. Yeah.
So moved. Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So we'll table for measurement.
And then Councilor Meg McGrath-Smith,
Yes.
Councilor Jenny Rivera,
Yes.
Councilor Vacant,
Yes.
Councilor Bartley, and then Councilor Israel Rivera. Yes. Thank you, Jeff, for that. So entertain a motion
Are
to
we
take.
leaving 6 on the table because we don't have legal form?
I didn't intentionally.
skip it?
Yeah.
Just
My
wondering.
apologies.
There's nothing with it, so I thought maybe we left it there because,
So you want to take up 6 now?
well, maybe I'll make a motion to take up item 6.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Item 6 was filed by Councilor Jordan. Order that the City Council review and adopt a mayor's proposal for the city financial policies by ordinance.
So we were just waiting for the legal form with the mayor/CAFO language, and we don't have it yet.
Yes. Jeff, do we have that language? Or are they not done with it
I
yet?
spoke with Attorney Ball today, and they're still working on it.
That's cool.
Along with checking out section 3 that you had requested taken out at the last meeting.
Perfect. So then I entertain a motion to table it.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Councilor Meg McGrath-Smith,
Yes.
Councilor Jenny Rivera,
Yes.
Councilor Bacon,
Yes.
Councilor Bartley,
Yes, sir.
and Councilor Rivera Israel, yes. And then I entertain a motion to take up item 15.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Item 15 was filed by Councilor Murphy Ramboletti. Order that the police department be allowed to hire a crime analyst past grade 10 mid-range, which is 70,407 to 78,000. Kelly is here, I think, to speak a little more on this too as well. Kelly, would you like to elaborate? And Tessa, since you're here, I'd like to to also recognize that Madam President Tessa Murphy Ramboletti. If you would like to also elaborate, whichever one would like to go first, but I think Kelly might have a.
I'm gonna let Kelly take the lead. Thank you. I did get here a little while ago, so I've been tuning in and listening to lively
My
discussion.
apologies, I didn't recognize you.
That's all right. Okay, bud, no worries. I had a work commitment before this, so I apologize for being late. I will let Kelly talk about this, but it sounds like that we have a good opportunity here, and hopefully we're taking the steps necessary to bring this forward to the full council. But I'll let Kelly provide the details.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the crime analyst position was posted a little while ago. The police department asked me if they could negotiate a salary. The person was coming from Springfield. I shared her credentials with you all. I believe you got that packet. Let me know if you didn't. I checked in with finance to see if there was money in the budget that would allow them to negotiate, and they said yes. So I gave the go-ahead. There was a lot going on, so I didn't check the ordinance immediately, and so here we are.
So it sounds like we've pretty much offered a job or are hiring someone, and we just want to make sure that we can.
Yes, we hired her. I want to be fully transparent. She's doing the work now. In the packet, she wrote her goals and what she's currently working on. A counselor asked me to provide that just so that you all know what the work is, because I know some people had not supported the crime analyst position. So we wanted to share what the goal is and her benchmarks. I think for the year she might have put on there. I have to review it again.
Thank you. I'd like to, and if there's nothing else to add, I'd like to open it up to any committee members or any other counselors that are online or in person. No questions. Counselor McGrath-Smith.
I just wanted to name that I went back over her resume. Clearly, she's really highly qualified. She came with all of the trainings that we would have hoped that she would have come in with, that we would have provided if she didn't already have. So the fact that she's already been a crime analyst, albeit in a different city for 7 years, I think it would make sense for us to look at whether or not we can extend her past the mid-range.
Thank you. Any other questions? Counselor Patty Devine. Patty, feel free. I saw your hand raised.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I don't have any questions. I just wanted to, I looked over this person's resume and it's really very, very good. It certainly fits the description. So I just wanted to agree with Counselor McGrath-Smith that we should hire this person. Thank you.
Thank you. For myself, I looked over the resume. I'm looking over it again, looking at some of the points she pointed out around the things the goals that she's identified. I appreciate a lot of this because usually when we have new positions or positions in general, it takes a little longer to have a better understanding of what's happening or what's going to happen throughout the process. I'd be in favor of this, not normally breaking code or trying to change things, but mostly because this is a candidate that when they come on board, they can help us implement certain things and help us build out and think for the future because they've been doing it within a specific role, versus someone that'd be learning on the job and then we're kind of trying to give the bump up. Counselor Vacant?
I just have one question. Is that the top of the range for the job?
It is not, no. Top is like 82 and some change. She could take a pay cut from Springfield, so that's why they wanted to negotiate.
Thank you. So I'll entertain a motion from someone on the committee because I can't make motions because I'm the chair.
Motion to approve item 15, is that correct?
Yes. Motion to approve the increase. And would it be making an amendment to the ordinance?
It would be, yes.
So it would be another order, or would it be making?
It would be amending the ordinance to allow this position to exceed the mid-range appointment that's in the ordinance. Yeah.
So the motion is making the amendment to allow the position to go up from 70 to 78,000 for this particular situation. That's the motion, Jenny.
Oh, I have to repeat that.
No, you don't have to repeat it. Just say
Second?
the motion, and then do I hear a second?
You'll have to second it.
Aye. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 No.
No.
Roll call.
Roll call. Counselor Meg McGrath-Smith.
Yes.
Counselor Jenny Rivera.
Yes.
Counselor Vacant.
No.
Counselor Israel Rivera. Yes. Thank you. It passes 3-1 to go full council. Counselor Bartley had to step out for an emergency. And first I want to say thank you for everybody, but I'll entertain a motion
Motion to adjourn.
to adjourn, right? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you guys and have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Good
Chair.
night. Thank you.
Buddy, thank you.
Thank you.